Throughout all of my videos about PGR, one thing should ring loud and clear. Kuro is really generous. I mean, if you look at Wuthering Waves, Kuro has some crazy generosity starting out. And then there's also that rumor that we're getting a free 5-star in 1.2. And if true, some people might be shocked about that, but if you're a longtime PGR player, this is kinda normal. I remember the days before Wuthering Waves was released when I was often worried that Rexland didn't pay Kuro enough to keep their lights on. I mean, for all we know, they could be recording this at their local gym. But by the way, as much as this is a joke, I'm sure someone out there would have actually believed that it wasn't. Either way, Kuro's generosity is seen in many points throughout all of PGR, and it definitely needs to be highlighted. I mean, I've heard that PGR is the least gacha game that has ever gacha'd, but I think that's going a bit too far. To reiterate, I just want to highlight their generosity and what they provide to the players of PGR to give you a better understanding of our situation. And to also tell you, again, this is normal. So first, let's talk about what people would spend most of their money on in gacha games. The characters. PGR's roster of characters is somewhat smaller compared to most character rosters in other gacha games of the same age. It's small, but I think it's a good amount to where you still might want to consider rolling for a character that you don't have. But there's something you should know. Aside from collabs, PGR does not have a limited banner. Instead, what we have are banners where we can focus on one of 3 characters that have a 70% chance of getting that character, or a 30% chance where you'll get another S rank from this S rank pool when you hit Pity. Here's the thing. The S rank pool is just every S rank that came out a little more than 2 patches before the current one. So you're more than likely going to fill that roster early on no matter who it's going to be. And yes, the standard banner also has access to the very same pool of S rank characters. While we're talking about the standard banner, we need to talk about the A ranks in the game. For you Hoyo people out there, S ranks are essentially the equivalent of 5 stars and A ranks are the equivalent of 4 stars. The reason why we have this system is because we can upgrade A ranks to S ranks or higher. Anyway, one thing that has annoyed me about Hoyo's gacha system is how incredibly hard it might be to obtain a 4-star you want. You have to pray to RNGesus to bless you with not a weapon and not the other 2 4-stars you might not want just to get that character. Or maybe also pray that in their benevolence, perhaps Hoyo might grant you the chance to obtain them through an event. In PGR, not only can you focus pull for an A rank, or what you people call a 4-star, we have an 80% chance to obtain that character through a single 10 pool. And if you think that's all, actually, this is where it gets interesting. If a character is debuting in the patch, whether it be an A rank or a S rank, when you hit where you're guaranteed to get them, basically Pity, the rate goes up to 100% guaranteed to obtain that targeted character. Just like that. No BS 50-50, no convoluted system, just get the character and be on your way. Additionally, there are times when we get an event where we get a targeted banner that has a rate up for 100% on Pity. So if you miss out on the debut, don't worry, you'll get another chance. In fact, it's happening right now for the 3rd anniversary event. The debuting A-rank character can also be attained through the patch's current story event just by playing that event's game mode, and obtaining that character with the in-game event currency. Yes, they come in the form of shards, but they provide the exact amount you need just to cash them in and get the character. Basically, no matter what, there should be no reason why you don't have a single A-rank character in your roster. Now, I don't want to go over what a uniframe is because it's just a different conversation entirely, but just know that the banner's Pity is only at 10 rolls where you have 80% chance at obtaining the uniframe, and of course if the uniframe debuts 100%, but you get the idea, right? Don't worry, I don't think people care about uniframes anyway. What about the weapon banner? Well, unfortunately they don't operate the same way when a signature weapon debuts alongside the corresponding character. It's just 80% across the board. However, after the character is no longer debuting and is stuck in gacha limbo until they get integrated into the overall standard pool, the weapon will stay behind in the weapon banner. In fact, you can focus any and all weapons at any time if you feel like rolling for them and are not looking forward to the latest characters, though how could you not? I will say that there are certain characters out there where their weapon dramatically changes how powerful they are, like Karnina Shear, but you can always hold out on it because you can get it whenever it's convenient to you. Oh yeah, by the way, the Pity is at 30 rolls, literally half of what it takes to get to Pity on a character banner. So yeah, even when you look at the character base rates, it's pretty good, and even by the gacha system itself, it's really telling how generous Kuro can be. But that's not where their generosity ends. You see, the gacha system and events aren't the only places you can get A ranks. You can also get them from the character shard resource missions. Just farm for 30 shards and boom, you get the character. Yes, you can only get 2 shards per character per day, and yes, it's not all of the A ranks, but either way, it's another avenue for you to obtain some A ranks. And much like how there's a different way to obtain some A ranks, there's also a different avenue to obtain some S ranks. While you're playing the game, you might end up receiving some vouchers as a reward. You might also get them from the free Battle Pass reward section too. Well, these vouchers can be cashed into a voucher exchange shop where you can buy various resources. But the most important resource to point out are the character shards. And these aren't just any character shards, these are S rank character shards. Now, of course, the shard requirement to obtain the S rank character is much higher than an A rank, it's 50. Either way, the fact remains that you can essentially obtain these S rank characters for free. Now, you might be thinking, if they're free, they must be pretty garbage, right? Well, there are some that are not worth getting, but there are others who are actually meta units, like Selena, Isla, and Rosetta. Heck, I'll even throw in Kamui Tenebrion and Liv Luminance in there. And hey, there's also Alpha right there who is really fun to use. So yeah, it's already pretty crazy that you'd have the ability to obtain some insanely strong and fun units for your account. And let's not forget that recently, the newest S rank character who is the newest metaphysical amplifier, which is currently debuting right now, is also free. I mean, aside from the voucher shop, you can get her from the dorm feature, which I'm sure is how the majority of us is going to obtain her. Also, Isla is there too, so yep. Basically, 3 meta amplifiers for physical, dark, and ice teams are pretty much free. Not sure if I drove the point home, but it's really important to stress this. Essentially, if you were to start out now, you'd be able to grind for some really good units to place in your roster. I mean, these units are no slouches, and their DPS is rather respectable. Though, as crazy as that is, at least there are some meta characters that are not in the lineup of the free characters, so there's still some reason to roll, right? Yes, but there are some circumstances to consider that could easily help you in building your premium rolls. Remember when I talked about how A ranks are essentially free without rolling the gacha? Well, you see, A ranks have an entire patch dedicated to them. So when us PGR players see an A rank patch, we see it as a saving patch. Even more so when it comes to S rank characters that pop out of the box with the low price of free, like when Selena first debuted or Isla, and now Elisa. And that is not to mention the selectors we've already got and perhaps will be getting. You see, back in Wuthering Waves, you will all have caught a glimpse of Kuro's generosity to address many issues and provide a lot of rewards to compensate. A lot of rolls, but most importantly, a free selector from the standard pool. Now, this is an apology selector for our troubles of the launch, but back in PGR, we've had like 3 character selectors and a weapon selector over the course of the game's lifespan, not as an apology but as a celebration. Yeah, Star Rail could never. And if that's not enough, during the Lamia patch, they will implement a mechanic into their standard banner to where you can target focus from the pool of S ranks available from around 2 patches before, and obtain that targeted character when you hit pity for the first time in that banner. So yeah, you get the idea. It's sort of easy to obtain basically almost the entire roster, but what about copies? Is there any value in getting them? Yes. In PGR, you can rank up your character by obtaining copies which provide you shards to upgrade the rank of the character, so they'll become more powerful and at times mechanically change them to be easier to play or possibly change the character's playstyle entirely. But instead of rolling for them, you can also get their shards for free as well. Remember the voucher shop? Even after buying those characters, their shards will not disappear. Instead, after a set amount of time, they'll refresh and you can use the vouchers to buy more. Though, I'd prefer that you save them because new characters will always be more enticing to get over copies. That said, it's absolutely possible that you can max rank these characters. A rank characters are also in that same position as you can basically farm for their shards through their shard resource missions. As for the rest of the S ranks that are not from the voucher shop, well, we have an end game mode called the Phantom Pain Cage. It's essentially a boss challenge of varying difficulties that will give you points based on your performance in fighting the boss overall. Most importantly, they'll give you these skulls where you can use them in the Phantom Pain Cage store, and in that store are character shards that are used to rank up those S rank characters. Now, these shards will only be available to you for purchase if and only if you already have that character in your roster. Aside from that, you can only obtain up to a maximum of 30 shards per character, which will be enough to rank your character up to SS ranking. For most characters, SS ranking is really all you need, and anything above that is a little over excessive. You can definitely roll if you want to get more than a SS ranking, but that's really up to you. I mean, there are a few whales out there who would be willing to do that, but they live in the minority. For casuals who would be prospective spenders, it's already easy to obtain characters, and beyond that, it's far more enticing to get a new character than gain copies. So you're starting to see the picture, right? It's just Kuro's generosity on full display. Kuro really makes it easy for us to make a decision to save during a patch without a second thought. And look, this is not a complaint. If anything, it makes this game extremely free to play as it is. That is not to say there will never be a point where we might have to spend money on a banner, and I'm not talking about if you might want the weapon or cub, I'm talking about spending money to get a character. Once the Lamia patch drops, we're actually going to be facing an uphill battle with our wallets. You see, after Lamia, there's the Black Rock Shooter collab, which operates slightly differently from our usual patches, followed by 2 consecutive S-rank patches and then 1 A-rank patch, and right after that, it's another S-rank patch. And it's not just any S-rank patch, it's our Ascendant Queen. Hey, she's a must-roll. And then after that S-rank patch, we'll be able to take a breather with an A-rank patch, but that will soon be followed up by 3 consecutive S-rank patches, one of them being, of course, the new Lucia frame. It's almost as if Kuro has heard many of us clamoring about how generous they are, that they decided to dial up the heat of endangering our wallets. Hey, you know those Wuthering Waves videos where people say, Kuro listened and all that? Imagine if I had to make a video where I said, Kuro listened, but maybe they listened a little too much. Yeah, that'd be wild. Jokes aside, we need to talk about one other thing. And it's the one thing that people will definitely want to spend money on. The skins. I said it once before that Kuro tends to design their characters in a minimalist fashion. Even when it comes to color usage, they don't seem to use a lot. You can definitely see it in the more recent characters they've released in Global. I've once described their character design to be a blank canvas that could be used to paint over with skins. Now, that's just a speculation, but it's not hard to see. That said, they really do try their hardest on their skins. No, I'm not talking about the rank up skins, that's different. I'm talking about the skins you can buy for free using the currency gained from the dorm system, or with real money. For the most part, some of the skins, like the free ones, are generally alright, and it's a pretty good upgrade from the base characters. But then, there's the limited skins, and then there's the crazy limited skins, which are an insane upgrade to where it's almost like they completely transform the character. Some of these skins go so hard, they even change the visual effects of the character's moves. And while we're talking about the crazy limited character skins like the ones for Liv Imperia or Bianca Stigmata, it can go even further. Whenever they are available, they have this whole event and its very own gacha system revolving around it. Yup, I said a gacha system. Gotta make money somehow, right? For limited character skins and the crazier ones, you can only spend money on it. And you know what? It might actually be worth it. Especially the crazier ones because they put in an immense amount of effort into it. They come with a whole new intro and outro scene, sometimes a story, and the visual effect change which makes it seem like you're playing an entirely different character. There are times when it even comes with a new lobby screen. You get the idea. When it comes to these kinds of skins, that's where the money is most likely being made. But hey, as you can see, even with Kuro's generosity, they're definitely able to make some money. For the most part, there are times where you kind of need to go out of your way to try to spend money on this game if I'm being honest. And again, this isn't always going to be the case moving forward. As for me, because I love PGR, I decided to buy the Wisplorn skin for Luna, not just because I like it, but also because I want to support Kuro as much as I can. But what does all of this come down to? Well, it's ultimately up to you over how you spend your money, though you should at least recognize the avenues you have that are open to you to get around certain things in the game. Besides that, the point I really want to get to is, how should I put this? If you haven't already, please try out PGR. It's a very free-to-play friendly game, not to mention it's also really fun. It's the 3rd anniversary event in Global, so now is the best time to pop in and check the game out. And you know what? The game is going to get even crazier, so best you hop in and not miss out on what we're about to experience. Anyway, make sure to like and subscribe if you're also a Lamia enjoyer. And if you're not, why? Also like and subscribe anyway, because it will increase the chances of Forlova to become a playable character. That's how it works, right? Right? Also, we recently hit 500 subs, which is a huge milestone to me, so thank you to everyone who has subscribed, as well as those who have supported me. It's nuts because I'm just some dude who wants to talk about some games. That's really it. So again, thank you.